Tonight on Our News Weekend, it's been 5 years since Monster Storm Dorian began unleashing the worst natural disaster in our history. And a time to reflect. Abaco's Friendship Tabernacle Church continuing their annual observance of the storm's anniversary with a service and wreath laying. Plus, the fight for Freeport continues as the ongoing back and forth between government, the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and the opposition rages on. All that and more as Our News Weekend starts now. This is Our News Weekend. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday night. I'm Marlena Leonard. Well, 5 years ago today, we watched in horror as Hurricane Dorian made landfall in Abaco. From all indications, we knew this monster storm was unleashing the worst natural disaster in our history. But nothing could prepare the people of Abaco, Grand Bahama, and indeed the Bahamas for what was about to unfold. Today, we remember the fallen, those who stood in the gap to help, and those who are still recovering 5 years later. 5 years ago today, the strongest storm on record to strike the Bahamas, Hurricane Dorian, made landfall in the Bahamas. The storm slammed into the Abacos with sustained winds peaking at 185 miles per hour, the highest since the 1935 Labor Day hurricane. From there, Dorian went on to hit Grand Bahama, where it would stall and sit on the island for over 24 hours. The unrelenting winds leading to unprecedented storm surges across the islands, causing both structures and, unfortunately, people being lost to the waters. By the time the storm began moving out of the country on September 3rd, Dorian had left behind a significant death toll, billions of dollars worth of damage, and the incredible trauma of the conditions that left about half of homes in the Abacos and Grand Bahama severely damaged or destroyed. But the aftermath also showed the strength of community, with many people braving the storm itself to save others, and even opening their homes to neighbors in their time of need. Well, it's been a long road to recovery in the 5 years since then, and tonight our Megan Shepard hosts a 1-hour special, Our Voices, Echoes of Dorian, 5 Years of Resilience. This special, airing at 8 p.m., explores the rebuild of the islands hit hardest by the monster storm, Abaco and Grand Bahama. Let's take a look at what you can expect.
The storm, when we had some respite, we were able to go outside. We could see people coming out of these communities like rain. I always describe it this way, trying to find safe shelter. A lot of the people that lived in these communities were probably irregular, and as irregular communities go, didn't want to be exposed to government or officials. We tried to explain to them that this is not about immigration. This is about saving your life. And we were able to, by the grace of God, to get quite a number of them into the government complex where we were headquartered.
In Abaco this afternoon, the Friendship Tabernacle Church continuing their annual observance of the storm's anniversary with a 5th anniversary service reflecting on Hurricane Dorian. The observance also including a wreath-laying ceremony in remembrance for those lost. Central and South Abaco MP John Pinder telling onlookers that this should be a season of reflection for what truly matters.
This time of year, we should all remember what we went through and what we did. As we recover, yes, we saw a beautiful video of things that are rebuilt. As we recover, you probably have some new clothes. As we recover, you have tangible things. But more so, 5 years on, you're still recovering. You're still mending our broken hearts, our broken souls. You're still recovering on intangible things.
The Member of Parliament also calling on the community to remember the unwavering unity felt across the island after the storm, urging them to reconnect and return to that level of contact.
Remember that time there was no difference in people. There was no difference whether you were rich or poor. There was no difference at all. We were all our brother's keepers. This time of year, we need to remember that. And we need to fortify that notion in our minds. to continue to be our brother's keepers. Some communities are doing better than others. Some people have their houses rebuilt, and some people don't. Some people still have leaky roofs.
Well, it's been a busy week for Grand Bahama on all fronts. There was the signing for the expansion of the GB shipyard and the opening of Carnival's new office in preparation for their new megaport. All this against the backdrop of closed-door talks between the government and potential buyers of the Grand Lucayan. It signals some positive news for the future of the island's economy. Sadly, the ongoing war of words over the Grand Bahama Port Authority also shows no signs of slowing down. This week, PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell and Opposition Leader Michael Pintard traded barbs, with Pintard telling Mitchell to mind his business when it comes to issues in Grand Bahama. In defending his and the Prime Minister's ongoing public rebuke of the port, Mitchell describing Pintard's comments as strange.
The leader of the opposition himself is from Nassau. He moved to Grand Bahama to get a seat in Parliament. So by his logic, because he now lives in Grand Bahama, he should not be saying anything about what's happening in Nassau, if his logic is correct. The fact is, the Bahamas is what you call a unitary state. It's a kingdom. It's not a republic. It is not a federal state. So in kingdoms or unitary states, power resides at the center and is diffused outwards. So there aren't separate centers of power. There's only one center of power. That's Nassau.
That war of words between the government and opposition over the Grand Bahama Port Authority came as the Prime Minister spent several days last week in Grand Bahama to, as he put it, fight for Grand Bahamians. One activity was a proposed meeting with potential buyers for the Grand Lucayan. It drew this reaction from opposition leader Michael Pintard.
We say, what credibility could he have when he represents Cat Island, Rum Cay, and San Salvador, where he is failing? Yes. Where he is failing with basic infrastructure. Yes. After serving that community for over 20 years, we still do not have, throughout Cat Island, potable water. So here is a Prime Minister who is busy talking about him fighting for Bahamians as opposed to members of the Free National Movement who have been fighting all along.
The opposition leader also using his media time last week to highlight ongoing electricity and water issues in New Providence and Eleuthera.
So if you are interested in convincing the Bahamian people that you are fighting for Bahamians, go to Maguana, go to Michael in general, and help them with the inconsistency in supply of electricity. If you are serious, go to Mangrove Key, community that has been good to the Progressive Liberal Party for many years. South Andres, South and Central have been loyal. Demonstrate your fighting powers by doing something for them. No, fight for the people in New Providence who face consistent blackouts on a regular basis.
Hundreds of jobs have been created in Grand Bahama as construction continues on Carnival Cruise Line's $600 million Carnival Key project. It's a private cruise port in Grand Bahama and the largest destination Carnival has built anywhere in the world. Prime Minister Philip Davis and several senior members of his administration recently toured the destination. Davis says there are currently hundreds of construction jobs, but once it's completed next summer, there will be hundreds more permanent jobs up for grabs.
And to see it coming out of the ground and the fashion it is truly, truly invigorating to me because the economic impact is already being seen. I'm advised that at any given time you have over 200 persons working on the site. We have at least 32 subcontractors, of which at least 29 of them are Bahamians, building these buildings and working, which is, again, the idea of my government to ensure that Bahamians are involved in building.
Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper, who also serves as the Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, was also on the tour. Cooper says the project will help the Grand Bahama economy bounce back.
We are now telling the story of Grand Bahama Island more than we ever had before. When you look in the immediate area of this facility, we see the Lucayan National Park, for example, and when you go a little further out, you see the flats of Sweetings Key, the sandbars, really the magnificence of this area. the pristine environment that we find just outside the gates here is truly, truly astounding.
When Our News Weekend comes back from the break, as thousands of commuters begin navigating the streets in the brutal back-to-school traffic tomorrow, police are sharing their top tips to a calmer commute. Plus, a local official raising concerns about the durability, roadworthiness, and even environmental impact of popular low-cost Japanese vehicles. That's coming up when Our News Weekend returns.
Are you or a loved one under medical care? Do you need affordable medical supplies? Ports International is the largest home healthcare supplier. Medical supplies at the very best price, and you can even shop online. From hospital beds to wound care, wheelchairs to walkers, Ports is a one-stop shop for your medical supplies, and we accept insurance. We have online shopping and 2 locations to serve you, at the Airport Industrial Park and Shirley Street. We also ship to the Family Islands. Shop online and visit us on Facebook. Call Ports at 377-1771.
The start of the school year tomorrow means the restart of the things parents and motorists dread the most: traffic. As thousands of commuters begin navigating the streets in the brutal back-to-school traffic tomorrow, police are reaching out to motorists and pedestrians today in a news conference on safety protocols for traffic management. Officer in charge of the Road Traffic Division, Chief Superintendent Eugene Strawn, cautioning motorists to leave home early and, more importantly, remain vigilant in school zones.
Try to manage your time in a better way. For those individuals who find that they are trying to get to work for 8 o'clock and they want to leave home at 7:55, that's a no-no. You know you're not going to make that time. Closer to the school zone, we're asking you to pay attention to the crossing guards at the pedestrian crossing. And just to admonish you, we should not be speeding in those zones. And the reason why we're trying to appreciate no speeding in those zones is because even though there are vehicular traffic, like traffic traveling along those corridors, you have a lot of pedestrian, small kids that are either running through the vehicles to get across from one side to the other side of the street.
He says the plan is simple: put all boots on the ground. And drivers, take note. Officers will assist with traffic management while looking out for reckless drivers.
We just would like to send out a clarion call to those individuals who take it upon themselves during the commute, especially during the morning time, when they're traveling, making double lanes, overtaking and failing to keep left, especially in that eastern corridor. There's a few matters that come from one of the corridors heading from the south, and we will give you just a stern warning to help us not to issue tickets.
Well, there's a noticeable influx of small Japanese vehicles. They've become dominant on the streets in recent years, primarily because of the cheaper purchase price. But there are ongoing questions about the safety and reliability of these vehicles. The most recent from State Minister for the Environment, Zane Lightbourne, who's voicing serious concerns about their durability, roadworthiness, and even environmental impact. Speaking with reporters on the sidelines of a weapons symposium days ago, he highlighted some critical issues related to these cheap imports.
We're importing sometimes what's trash in other countries. You know, we have to be careful that we don't import write-off vehicles that are put back together. You see a lot of vehicles now with the wheel dropping off, and you'd be like, how does something like that happen? They're just on the highway and there was a wheel kick out where it seemed like the whole suspension systems failed. Some of these vehicles we are finding have been condemned in other countries, but they managed to make their way in our countries in some way, shape, or form. So it's just a responsibility and an enforcement effort that's going to be needed for us to be very effective in this area.
Lightbourne also pointing out that while inspections are conducted at ports of entry, some things fall through the cracks.
I know that from basic visits at the regular ports, we know that those inspections take place. Those vehicles have to be tracked from where they came from to make sure they're not stolen. But as it would go, we always have to modify our processes, use relevant technology to keep up with the changes, because persons are hell-bent sometimes on bringing in these vehicles because they want to make the quick buck. And we are going to work closely with these agencies to make sure that inspections continue and that we extend also to Family Islands which sometimes have less of a presence of the relevant agencies to check to see that these boats, that these containers and everything else that may come in, barges, that they're not just bringing in vehicles and they're finding their way up the chain of islands.
We have not forgotten our promise for pools. That's the Minister of Education's promise to keep her word for more pools in public schools. Education Minister Glenys Hannah Martin acknowledging the intent to build these pools, even as the ministry races to complete school repairs and construction projects nationwide. A week ago, Hannah Martin, along with Works Minister Clay Sweeting, toured schools to check the progress ahead of Monday's reopening. It was then she reiterated the promise.
We broke ground, and then we broke ground at CH Reeves. CH Reeves will be the first pool that's going to be completed, and the work is underway as we speak. It will not be ready in time for when school reopens, but they said it would take about 12 weeks, and so thereafter, we'll have that swimming pool there, and then Government High, and then we're looking at 2 other schools in the first, batch. We are also reviewing the PE, physical education curriculum, which will allow our teachers, and we found that we had at least 12 to 14 teachers that are certified in teaching swimming.
But not everyone is as open and optimistic about the plan. Critics and even parents raising safety and upkeep concerns. Minister Hannah Martin acknowledging those concerns, she responded like this.
We will bring a special focus to that to ensure that the facilities are maintained in the swimming pools. I've heard that concern, and I understand the concern because they say government buildings are never properly maintained. But we will look at ensuring that these swimming pools are maintained, particularly because there's a health factor and also because it's a major investment and a necessity.
Still to come on Our News Weekend, the operators of the Ranfurly Homes for Children finding it increasingly difficult to remain operational. Now they're asking for your help.
Prince Strawn returns to the turf and we check out Jazz and the Yanks. Our Sports Weekend is next.
Are you or a loved one under medical care? Do you need affordable medical supplies? Ports International is the largest home health care supplier. Medical supplies at the very best price. And you can even shop online. From hospital beds to wound care, wheelchairs to walkers, Ports is a one-stop shop for your medical supplies, and we accept insurance. We have online shopping and 2 locations to serve you, at the Airport Industrial Park and Shirley Street. We also ship to the Family Islands. Shop online and visit us on Facebook. Call Ports at 377-1771.
Good evening, happy Sunday. I'm Tage Adderley and we are back with our Sports Weekend. Boise State wideout Prince Strawn showed the markings of an elite receiver in limited snaps in his freshman campaign last season. He hit the turf last night in the team season opener. Strawn and the Broncos opened their season against the Georgia Southern Eagles in Statesboro, Georgia yesterday. They got out of there with a 56-45 win. Georgia Southern actually went up 30-28 in the third quarter before Boise mounted a furious comeback to get the win. Despite getting the start, Strawn did not record a catch in the game. The Broncos opted instead to bludgeon the Eagles on the ground with star running back Ashton Jeanty. He was a one-man wrecking crew on offense, running for a whopping 267 yards and 6 touchdowns and only 20 carries. The Prince and the Broncos have a tall order on their hands next weekend when they take on number 3 ranked Oregon. Now we're going to head to the Bronx where Jazzism did his thing. Jazz had a nice day at the plate, going 3 for 4, 3 singles and a run scored, but his Yankees still lost 6-5. The Yankees went down 6-1 early, but scored 4 runs in a frantic 8th inning rally, sparked by a single by Jazz. He would later score in that same inning. Cardinals closer Ryan Helsley put an end to the Yanks' run with the perfect 9th inning, securing the win. The Jazz and the Yankees played the Cards once more today, and they'll play the Texas Rangers tomorrow. That's a wrap for sports for this weekend. For our Sports Weekend, I'm Tage Adderley. Have an amazing week.
Still to come on Our News Weekend, the Ranfurly Home for Children's president says the needs are greater now than ever. Find out how you can help. That's coming up when Our News returns.
Are you or a loved one under medical care? Do you need affordable medical supplies? Ports International is the largest home health care supplier. Medical supplies at the very best price. And you can even shop online. From hospital beds to wound care, wheelchairs to walkers, Ports is a one-stop shop for your medical supplies, and we accept insurance. We have online shopping and 2 locations to serve you, at the Airport Industrial Park and Shirley Street. We also ship to the Family Islands. Shop online and visit us on Facebook. Call Ports at 377-1771.
Welcome back to Our News. Well, the sun came back out to join us today in the capital, a welcome change after all of yesterday's rain. Meteorologist Ian McKenzie joins us now with your extended weather forecast. Ian?
Thanks, Marlena, and good evening, Bahamas. Welcome to your Sunday evening forecast and the 5th anniversary of Hurricane Dorian. Currently outside our studios, we're under partly cloudy skies with a temperature of 84. Still muggy feels like at 92. Winds are from the east-northeast at 10 miles per hour. Current temperatures across the country: rain cool in Freeport at 80, 83 in Marsh Harbor, 84 in Governor's Harbor, the capital and in Nicholstown, 81 in Allenstown, and 82 in Great Harbor Key. In the Central Bahamas, 85 in Camps Bay, as well as Georgetown and Coburn Towns in Salvador, 84 in Arthurstown, and 86 in Deadman's Key, Long Island. In the Southeast Bahamas, we have 85 in Duncantown, as well as Abrahams Bay, 86 in Matthewtown and Providenciales, Turks and Caicos, 86 in Colonel Hill, and 84 in Delectable Bay, Acklins. First look now at our satellite imagery, where we have persistent troughing across the extreme northwest Bahamas. This will continue to trigger pockets of unsettled weather across those areas. Elsewhere in the tropics, 3 areas of interest. The first tropical wave only has about a 20%. The next one just to the east of the Windward Islands has about a medium chance at 40%. And an area of interest, a low pressure area just to the south of Louisiana, expected to give them some downpours. Elsewhere through the week, we're looking at high pressure dominating the islands. This should tend to keep things at bay. All the tropical waves should remain south of us. No problem there, but we still want to monitor the progress of these systems throughout the week. Boating forecast: small craft caution in place, winds east to southeast 15 to 20, seas 4 to 7 feet, high tide at 7:50 a.m. tomorrow morning, low tide at 2:13 a.m. In your extended forecast, rain persisting through about midweek, so morning commute is going to be a little choppy. Highs getting up into the low 90s, back into that heat advisory range, which are low temperatures up in the upper 70s, low 80s. That's a wrap in the evening forecast. Make it a great, safe, fun night, everyone.
Well, a local children's home appealing for help as it battles with the rising cost of living. Despite a recent generous donation, the operators of the Ranfurly home are finding it increasingly difficult to remain operational. Joshua Williams reports.
The Ranfurly Homes for Children needs your help. First opened in the 1950s after a group of homeless children was taken in by Hermione, Countess of Ranfurly. Following a fire in downtown Nassau, the house remained open through private donations and government support. Fast forwarding some 70 years later, the home's president, Joey Primock, says the needs are greater now more than ever.
Immediate needs is always first and foremost is financial needs for ongoing operational costs of running the home. And then also just a general community service is always needed here. Lots of handyman work is always needed here. We do have 20-something kids always, and they are teenagers, so they're usually a little rough. And, there's a lot of activity happening at the home 24 hours a day.
Even getting these kids to school is an ongoing challenge.
It's a little bit more boys than it is girls. We range anywhere from 20 to 30 children at a time, and it usually is about half and half. And they go to about 5 different schools on the island, and so there's a lot of driving around that we do.
Just recently, the Cable Bahamas group of companies donated over $6,000 to the home to replace 6 air conditioning units. Primock is hoping more corporate entities get involved at this level.
It is extremely important because it is really Ranfurly's lifeline that corporate donations continue to give to nonprofits like this. We are a private home, so we receive very little from the government on grants, less than 20%. So it is extremely important.
And if you are moved to help?
Anybody that is interested in doing anything from handyman, gardening, volunteering, tutoring is always needed. And just really spending quality time with the kids is what they really need the most.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
Thank you so much for joining us for Our News Weekend on behalf of the entire team. I'm Marlena Leonard. Have a safe and wonderful evening. And stay tuned, because next up is Our Voices, Echoes of Dorian, 5 Years of Resilience. The journey of recovery begins now.